Olson Electronics was a mail-order and retail chain of electronics stores that opened in 1927 and closed in 1981. Thank you for your suggestion. Even though it was the early years of the Great Depression, Irving Olson was able to open a radio repair and sales business in his father's garage. His brothers Sidney and Philip Olson joined the business, which expanded into Olson Radio Warehouse. Mr. Olson quickly started out as a one-man radio repair business in downtown Akron and turned it into Olson Electronics. Olson Electronics would soon be known for their catalog business, selling electronic components. They would be comparable to Radio Shack in terms of brick-and-mortar stores, and Lafayette's in terms of catalogues. I would even draw comparisons to Fry's Electronics and heavy advertising of their products like Harbor Freight. A large part of their offerings was surplus stock, and their catalogs were decidedly more down market than most, being printed on newspaper stock, which in turn means that fewer copies have survived the ravages of time, even though print runs hit the 1 million mark. In addition to developing their own line of kits that were largely radio and audio related, the company did sell audio and other electronic products under their own name, including turntables and separates, but their loudspeakers are the most fondly remembered by some, although it is not known who was the OEM provider or providers for those. By the 1960s, Olson's was still supplying USA-made speaker components, unlike most of the cheaper electronic stuff that was by then largely imported from Japan. The company owned another firm originally called American Electronic Parts, or AEPC, but later became known as Herald Electronics and was based in Chicago, Illinois. The budget nature of some of the company's goods made for some interesting products. For instance, Olson was the company that brought us the Vibrasonic Spring Reverb. Olson's had their share of critics as well. A Reddit user once said that Olson was a budget brand from the 60s that rebadged equipment from various, mostly Japanese manufacturers. They'd buy a run of units from some manufacturer, dump them onto the market, and then quickly move on to the next thing. As such, there were a lot of different Olson amps and receivers, most of which were not well documented. Olson wasn't at all concerned with quality and just sold whatever they could get for a good price. As a result, the quality of Olson equipment varies widely from unit to unit and depended on who the OEM was. Olson Electronics would become a coast-to-coast 95-store chain and mail-order business. Irving officially retired on his 50th birthday in 1963. Olson Electronics would be purchased by Teledyne in 1968. That event marked the start of a decline in the company's fortunes. Teledyne started dumping low-cost but high-markup wares into the stores, and overall quality of the in-house brands in general went down. In the late 1970s, many of their smaller stores only stocked Olson-branded products and locally sourced surplus stock. In addition, the interest in surplus products declined with the miniaturization of electronics, and the growing purchasing power of consumer meant that kits were falling out of favor. The computer boom of the late 1970s and early 1980s seemed to have been the final nail in the coffin, since the people that had been electronic and ham radio enthusiasts a few years earlier were by that time spending their time and money on computers. Teledyne started reorganizing it by closing out of markets and did start franchising it in other markets that it could not invest in or decided not to take a financial risk. The company appears to have gone out of business in the early to mid-1980s. The last Olson store was last seen in Florida between 1985 and 1986. On October 1st, 2016, founder Irving J. Olson passed away peacefully at age 102 in his sleep at his home in Oro Valley, Arizona, after enjoying 53 years of retirement. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.